What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project X Talk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 122, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and I am joined, as usual, by my co-host, Mr. Physical Copy. Ethan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Kevin. I got to say, I'm proud of you. Okay. We had the Arsenal flag, which I don't know nothing about. I'm not a soccer guy, but I understand it is a flag. It should be upside down. You had it upside down last week, and now we have it aligned properly. Enough people have been giving you shit, and I think you finally caved into peer pressure, and I really appreciate that.
I did.
So looking good. You're looking good in the background. Also, believe it or not, Kevin, I have birthday plans for 2024 after tonight. I'm planning this far ahead because that's how far ahead you have to buy Metallica tickets. I tell you, folks, my God, all the tickets for 2023 are sold out for Metallica's world tour that they're doing. But 2024, Foxborough, right? Gillette Stadium, where the New England Patriots play. They will be playing on August 4th, 2024, opened by Five Finger Death Punch, of all bands, one of my favorite bands of all time. So I'm going to be thrashing metal come 2024 when I'm turning 27. The day before I turn 27, I'm going to be headbanging. I'm going to get sloshed. I'm going to get arrested, Kevin. I'm going to do terrible things. We'll see. It's going to be great. I'm going to lose my job, my career. Everything's going down the toilet. We're going to see Metallica. I've had a dream for a long time of going to see that band. Of course, I went to my first concert last year in San Antonio. Had a great time watching the band's terrible venue. I'm hoping the venue this time is a little better. I figure where the New England Patriots play, it'll be premier, right? So I'm pretty excited for that. We just got to secure these tickets in the hotel rooms and all that stuff. But man, it's so far away. I'm ready for it now, but I'm glad we get that stuff secured.
In case any of our YouTube watchers are wondering why I'm suddenly looking over here, it's because my other computer screen just turned off. And I think the power cord, something in the back is broken with it. So now I'm reduced to my crappy monitor, which is a nice 720p resolution.
That's all you need for the podcast, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I use for the documents and stuff to read. But I do wish that my main computer or my main monitor would work, because this is very frustrating.
We'll figure that out.
Anyway, Ethan, this is an Xbox podcast. We are live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. If you can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite podcast service of choice. So while you're over there, please drop us a rating, drop us a review. It does help us grow. Again, I've been telling you every week, we're only a few away from hitting 40 on Apple and 30 on Spotify. So why aren't you doing it? All right, get on it. I know you're listening. I can see the numbers. Okay, we need you.
But close, Kevin.
If you want to interact with us more, please come join the Discord. The link is down in the description below. Come chat games, hang out with us. Good times over there. And if you'd like to support us further and get early access to all Save the Game Media's content, like No Limits, Frame by Frame, or I Hate My Friends, plus Patreon exclusive post shows, go over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, just like our 18 current patrons. So thank you to Bucky Blue, Hopple, Alpaca Tom, Amon, Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Brianna's wife, Nikolai at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, The Snack Network, David Hotright, Dave Harp, and the Xbox Expansion Pass. Thank you for your support. We appreciate every single one of you. Now that I'm done with that, got it in one take, right through. Throat almost gave out. All right. Throat almost gave out halfway through there.
We've had some changes in the Patreon recently, and you haven't messed up whenever we've had change. I think you're getting used to this. I think you're getting pretty good. Yeah.
I almost there used to be a flow because someone left the Patreon, and you get people come and go. It's how it goes. But like there was one name that I always wanted to say after like a certain name in the flow, and it took me a little bit, but I think I finally come around to it anyway. But
it sounds good. It sounds good. I got to switch up my dance routine every time we do this. We both have to adjust, and I think we're doing a pretty good job at it.
Well, if you want to mess up my flow, go to Patreon. But Ethan, let's start the show like we do every single week, and that's going around the room and asking one simple question. That question is, what have you been playing?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember what we all talked about on Tuesday. I think we mostly talked about Hi-Fi Rush, correct? And I don't think
last week, yes, we talked about Hi-Fi Rush.
And obviously since then I finished it, Kevin finished it, and we did a whole review on it. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Hi-Fi Rush, go check that out. It's a really good review. Me and Kevin had a really nice discussion about that. We really enjoyed having a conversation about all that. Great video game. If you have Game Pass, absolute essential play. I honestly would say so. Oh, I'm in the driver's seat
now. It looks like I'm looking at you.
Oh, I'm in the driver's seat now. Look at that. This is a disaster. I don't like this at all. Kevin, can you please switch it back? It's confusing me. I'm off my game. There we go. I'm back where I belong, in the passenger seat. I love it. I'm a passenger princess, folks. I can't say anything. But Hi-Fi Rush, great video game. Absolutely recommend. So I'm going to leave it at that. Next game I want to talk about is Deliver Us Mars, the sequel to Deliver Us the Moon. This is a very AA video game. Right. It is basically a walking sim exploration game. The story is told through a lot of environmental things that you can find, whether it be holograms or data pads or anything like that. This is basically just a walking sim in space. Right.
Okay.
An extremely passable game, I think, unless you're a huge fan of space travel or anything space, because you do get to explore some cool environments like space stations, like Mars, obviously, both during the day and at night. You get to do some rover stuff. You get to do some EVAs outside of space stations to repair stuff. Like, there's some pretty cool little things in there for space nerds out there like me and Sean Capri. I think that people would really enjoy. If you're a big fan of walking sims, like The Medium or something, I think this is a game that might be up your alley. It's definitely not to the quality of The Medium, I wouldn't say.
Well, that's not a very high bar.
This is a AA game. Like, it's straddling Steam, shovelware AA game. But they did a lot of great things with the environment, and like the robot companion you have, Ayla, I think is the name, or Ace, one of the two. Really cool animations on it. But the character modeling, wow, it's rough, Kevin. I mean, rough. Like, this is like a Steam assets, like Unreal Engine 4 assets, free assets sort of game. I don't know how else to explain it. But just a little interesting story. You're basically the daughter of this scientist that went rogue and escaped with a bunch of other scientists to Mars with a bunch of technology that might have saved the Earth, but they didn't trust humanity with it. So they wanted to go to Mars and make this colony to try and save humanity, basically leaving Earth behind to its doom. And you're basically part of this team to go back and try and retrieve that technology. And you have to deal with a lot of different issues of not only your past with your father and the trauma that comes with that, but also with the fate of humanity and whether or not you may trust the people back on Earth with this technology, blah, blah, blah. So pretty cool game, entirely passable for someone that doesn't really enjoy space or doesn't really enjoy walking simulators. So I wouldn't say this is recommend. I'd say this is more of a niche product for somebody that might want it. Yeah. So other than that game, I think the big game that has come out since we last spoke, Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh yes, I want to hear your thoughts.
So Hogwarts Legacy, this game is absolutely amazing, and I'm really trying to rein it in to try and figure out what words to say, because I don't want to sugarcoat, or I don't want to downplay how great this video game is. First, let's start with the bad. There are performance issues. I did buy the deluxe edition, so I've been playing it 3 days before release. It technically releases on February 10th. So I've been playing it since February 6th, because I took that little flight to New Zealand when I bought the deluxe edition, right? Technical issues, there's some pop-in, frame rate drops. Basically, I would say, what do they call it? Fidelity mode with ray tracing or fidelity mode are essentially unplayable right now as it stands, which is fine by me because I really only play in performance mode. Yeah. It's not a big deal to me. Performance mode, it works fairly well. Sometimes things can chug a little bit, especially when you're moving from interior to exterior environments. That's when you see most of your pop-in. That's when you see a lot of your frame rate drop, especially when you're sprinting or anything like that. And a lot of assets are trying to load in at the same time. So you got to be really careful about that stuff. But with all the technical aspects aside, which I'm hoping will be patched out fairly soon, the game is great. The environment is incredible. They nailed the Wizarding World, Kevin. They nailed Hogwarts. I mean, for me personally, and I've seen different discourse online. Obviously, this is a controversial game.
Wait, is there controversy around?
There may be a little controversy with this game, but For me personally, I think they nailed the Harry Potter vibe of this game in the sense that the world feels alive with magic, right? You see students moving their books around with their wands, trying to get from class to class. You see floating water cans watering plants outside the Hogwarts and in the greenhouses. You see people flying on their broomsticks to and from Hogwarts to Hogsmeade to get themselves a butterbeer. You see the owlery, where you see all the owls flying around the towers. I mean, exploring this world is absolutely incredible, and it's immersive, and it's really, really fun to sort of see all the little details that this team put in. You can really, really tell that the team of people that made this video game know Harry Potter, and they know the lore of Harry Potter, and they know what makes Harry Potter special to so many people. And I'm not even the biggest Harry Potter fan. I'm the first to tell you, I'm more of a casual Harry Potter fan. I've never read the books, which I know is heresy to so many Harry Potter fans. I've watched I'm pretty sure I've watched all the movies, but never in order, or I've never sat down and really like hardcore paid attention to the movies or anything like that. I know the main characters. I know Hagrid and Harry and Hermione and Ron Weasley. So I can kind of piece together names here and there, but I don't know any of the crazy backstory lore. But even me as a casual fan, jumping into this world has been absolutely incredible. And it makes me realize why people love this world so much. I think it's the first time that I've been a part of the Harry Potter IP, where I've been so immersed in this world and interested in it. And another cool thing is my mother's a huge Harry Potter fan. So I've been bouncing a lot of stuff off of her, telling her like, oh yeah, I'm going to Hogsmeade and going to this tavern, or I'm going to this shop. And she's like, oh yeah, I remember all this stuff from the books I read. So I can tell you from the perspective of a big Harry Potter fan, which is my mother, she is telling me that a lot of this stuff is fairly realistic and it's true to the lore. And she's really interested in this. She's not even a gamer. Another thing I want to highlight, the combat is incredible. I really enjoy the combat.
Really?
Myself and Sam have been talking about this in the Discord a little bit. The combat feels very fluid. It's very fast paced. It's exciting. The combo potential is another thing that Sam Heaney pointed out. The combo potential is absolutely incredible. You unlock, I think, around 30 different spells. Not all of them are combat related spells, but basically you get this wheel that you can use. So you hold down right trigger, you get 4 spells you can choose from using YXAB. And then you can kind of cycle through the different wheels that you can create with the D-pad. You have to unlock that ability later on. It comes very quick. It's not so at the beginning, you only can really hotkey 4 spells, but it opens up to you later on in the game. But once you get into that flow with the combat, once you unlock those abilities and understand the combat system, the combo ability is insane, and it's really, really fun to try different things. I'm of course playing on story mode, so it doesn't really
Baby ass
matter to me.
baby mode. Let's
Yeah,
go.
so I'm just playing around with the combat system to make people go flying a million miles away, or like throwing them over a river or something, like something goofy like that. Obviously, I think Tom and Sam are both playing on hard mode, so I'm sure when
Oh
they
wow.
talk about it at some point, I think Sam will probably talk about this on No Limits a little bit. Maybe Sam will be a part of the review later on. I'm not sure that we're going to do well into the future once Bree comes back from
Yeah, I
her
was gonna say
vacation.
it's like it's tens of hours of long like length, right?
It's a very long video game. I'm probably 17 hours into it at this point, and I feel like I haven't scratched the surface, Kevin. I've been doing a lot of side stuff, lots of side quests. The world is rich with stuff to do, I will tell you. There are your sort of, and I use this, I know this is going to sound bad, but it's like the Ubisofty way of having a sort of checklist stuff to do out in the world. But the game doesn't force you to do those things. You really don't have to do them. They're more for your purview if you want to unlock some stuff or go loot farming or something like that. I don't really think the game forces you to do that. Again, I'm not playing on hard mode, so maybe on hard mode you have more of an incentive to do stuff like that. But the world is really filled with a lot of great places to explore and a lot of really fun side quests to go do, that I think are very detailed and interesting. A lot of them are stuff like, broom riding time. Oh, that's the other thing. Broom riding. I have not ridden a mount like a hippogriff yet, but I've only ridden a broom. It feels great. At first, the controls are a tiny bit wonky because they're very unique. At least in flying games that I've played, I'm not used to this. Basically, right stick going up and down basically makes you ascend and descend, and then left stick makes you go left to right. So you're
Oh
kind of
yeah, I've
just,
played a few games like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can't remember any off the top of my head. I'm sure I played a game like that before, but it's a little bit wonky at first because I don't think it's a very well used or a very often used flying control scheme, but it feels really good once you get the hang of it. And once you do get the flying ability, the world opens up to you and you're just flying around the grounds of Hogwarts. You're flying around the spires. You're seeing the vistas. You're seeing the environment. You're getting from objective to objective really, really quickly. I mean, this game, Warner Bros. Studios, they knocked it out of the park. Honestly, this is probably my favorite game that has ever come out of this development studio, and it's probably my favorite Harry Potter IP sort of thing that I've ever played. Again, from the perspective of a casual fan that's never read the books, so don't come at me. But this has been an incredible adventure. I'm only 16 hours in. I'm really, really excited to keep going with this storyline. I find it interesting. So we'll see what happens from there on out.
Yeah, I find the discourse around this game to be overwhelming, especially this week.
It is.
I knew it
You
would be.
gotta make yourself numb to it. And I've been trying to push it out of my head because I don't want to sour my experience with this game. And I'm
And
really glad I've done
I
that.
think that's the best way to do it because I have everything I've seen has been nothing but praise for this game. Obviously, it
Yes.
reviewed super well. Everyone I know that's playing it is having a fantastic time. Kind of gave me a FOMO type feeling. I personally don't care about Harry Potter, so I'm gonna stay away from it.
Right.
But I do know that, like, as Ghostly March in the chat here points out, the anti-Hogwarts Legacy Brigade has been going around posting spoilers and making memes that spoil the game since their boycott failed. So
Yeah.
it's we've seen a lot of toxic backlash, and as we talked about, people that reviewed the game are working on guides. We're getting doxxed, and I know some streamers were getting death threats, like streamers that definitely don't deserve it. Well, no one deserves it,
No,
but
of
like,
course.
are you
It
familiar
broke
with?
the Twitch single player streaming record, by the way. That's something we should shout out. 1.2
Yes,
million concurrent viewers on Twitch for this
yes,
video game. That's
and
crazy.
again, J.K. Rowling sucks. Okay, very that no one's disputing that,
Yep.
but you're allowed to buy a video game that will barely give her any money, and it does
Yeah.
not make you a bad
The
person. If you can also choose not to buy said video game because of your beliefs,
the
they're not mutually
yeah.
exclusive.
The old adage of the road to destruction is paved with good intentions is very well applicable to games like Hogwarts Legacy, where a
Mm,
lot of people will come out for a good reason and saying that J.K. Rowling's a terrible person
yes.
and a turf and she's anti-trans, but at the end of the day, you're causing destruction by
Mhm.
hating people and by bullying people and by giving death threats, things like that. It's unacceptable, really.
Yeah, and I think Mighty Keith did a nice little skit about it. How it's like
Love
just a
Mighty Keith.
random dude who went to pick it up from like GameStop, and then they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we got that transphobe wizard game," and I was like, "What?"
What?
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
No, it's obviously just treat everyone good. All right,
By the
it's easy to
way,
be a good person.
I wasn't going to say this unless the conversation came up, which it did. So I'm going to say it. The game features a prominent trans character. Okay.
Oh,
This development team is very aware of the IP that they're working on. There is a prominent LGBTQ plus relationship that takes on in this. They use proper pronouns for people. Okay. They refer to the
yeah, they
player character as
highlighted
they,
that.
them.
Mhm.
Okay. So you won't hear he or she, and I'm sure there's going to be the crazies out on the internet that get mad about that, but really it doesn't hurt the game at all. It's fine. Not a big deal. Don't freak out about it. Okay. But you can tell that this development team is very conscious of the IP that they're working on.
Mhm.
And they did a really good job in trying to include people in this game that may feel marginalized by J.K. Rowling's views. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important to highlight because the people that worked on this video game, the hundreds of people that put their sweat and tears into this video game, they are not transphobes. They are not people that hate people. Okay. They deserve respect. They deserve to get praised for the work that they did.
Mhm. And I think I know a friend of the show, Ty Guy Travis, who did IGN review. He was getting death threats because he gave it a 9 out of 10,
So
and
crazy to
he
me.
he made a point of stating that, like, he when you review a game, you have to put your moral, like, you put that stuff aside. You just have to critique the
Right.
game, not the not the
Yeah.
IP holder. All right, so
Yep.
but let's move on from Hogwarts Legacy. Everyone, if
Sure.
you're playing it, let us know your thoughts down below
Great
in the
game.
comments for the show. I have played 2 games. Well, I shouldn't say that. I beat Hi-Fi Rush last week since we flash recorded. We did our review for it, as you mentioned. Go check that out. It's on the channel now for everyone. And then I have also beat Fire Emblem Engage, which our review with me and my brother is coming out tomorrow on the channel. So if you want our thoughts on Fire Emblem Engage, our Save the Game Boy Nintendo podcast monthly show, be out tomorrow for everyone this month, since we've made some changes from the Patreon to the public. So
exciting.
that is on audio feeds as well. So if you want that, go look for it.
All of our old episodes are public too now, right?
They are.
All the old
yes.
Save the Game Boy.
Yes,
So
they are.
Go get
so
the backlog.
you got some backlog, about a few episodes there for that. But the games I want to talk about that I've tried out were Ollie Ollie World, which is now free on PS Plus. And I played it for maybe 30 minutes, and then it was an uninstall. I found myself very bored with the game.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, there's no voice acting. All the characters make these weird little noises, and I can look past that. It's an indie game, right? But I just found the gameplay very, very boring. It was like, oh, tap the X button to make yourself go faster, and then you hold the stick different directions to do different tricks. And the premise is like you have to get through the levels, usually by like dodging or jumping over obstacles. I was just so bored after 30 minutes. I was like, I don't think this is for me, unfortunately.
So was the gameplay mostly centered around like 2D side scrolling stuff, and you just have to hit your marks and jump and everything? Okay. Because I remember when this came out last year and I was really interested in it. I liked the art style. I thought that there was a lot of hype around it. I remember a lot of people reviewed it, said it was really good. It reviewed very well. But I just remember I couldn't get around to it. I'm sure there were other games coming out around that time. But I remember thinking like, oh, the gameplay looks pretty cool. That's tough to hear that it's really just a side-scrolling sort of press A to jump over things.
I'm sure it gets more complicated. Like maybe it gets more complicated later, but like I couldn't bring myself to play more of it because I was just like bored to tears. So what I did do instead was I went and played Persona 3 Portable. Okay.
Oh,
I told you that like I had to get through some games, and then I wanted to check out Persona 3 because I've platinum Persona 5 Royal, I've played Persona 4 Golden, and I've put 2-ish hours into Persona 3 Portable. And my takeaway is, if you haven't played Persona, start with this one, because going backwards is a rough ask. I am so bored in this game.
Oh no.
It's basically, I don't know, because it's portable. There's no cutscenes in portable, right? There's no full FMV in this version of the game. So it is very much just a visual novel. And then when you do the dungeons, you go to Tartarus, which is the main thing you do in this game. And it is it is the most bland. There's nothing. It's literally just empty hallways with like little shadow creatures. And I get it was a PSP game, right? Like, but I'm trying to play it on a Series X, and it clearly looks better. Like it's 4K 120 or whatever, because it's a super old game. And I just find myself incredibly bored with this game. And it's a shame because I like the characters, because I've experienced some of them from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. They were in there. I know that I like some of the characters. The voice acting is really good, but the gameplay is bringing it down for me because it does feel so old and dated. And then there's the fact that like there's a big rumor going around that Persona 3 is going to get a remake. So at this point, I'm sitting here, I'm like, do I persevere for 63 more hours of
63 hours
of 63 more hours of pretty bad dungeon crawling, if you can call it that, or do I wait for the remake to come out and play it, which will surely be a better, more modern experience? And I gotta tell you, I'm leaning towards the remake.
Yeah, I think if I could push you over the edge there, I would say go for the remake, because from what little I experienced with Persona 5, I remember that world being vibrant, exciting, full of good characters, something interesting, something I'd want to really get into, but just didn't have the time for it at the time. So you saying that it's kind of dull and, it's more visual novel-esque, maybe not the best move to play this game and invest 60 hours in, especially if they're going to do a remake on it. So you might as well put that on the burner.
That's kind of where I'm at this point, and it's a shame. I hope they keep like the voice acting, like if they can get the original voice actors come out or just reuse the lines and change,
Right.
like update the graphics, update the gameplay. I just think the loop is clearly not perfected from what they like. 4 and 5 nailed it. They know, like that's when Persona came into its
Right.
own. 3 is clearly a very, we're getting there, but we didn't quite hit it. And I can see that with Tartarus because it's painful to go through that dungeon. I was like, I'm literally just running, trying to run past enemies and like where are the stairs to the next point, and then you go to the visual novel section, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. So I'm gonna put that away, I think, and just wait for the remake. Like Ghostly March in the chat says, also waiting for the remake. Captain Logan wants to know if I've been hydrating properly between all these thirsty JRPGs. Well, as you can see, I have a gallon water bottle next to me.
He's always hydrating.
So I'm always
He also did play Cosmic Shake, Bikini Bottom. So, he was very hydrated.
I did. Yes, I did.
Playing
I
some
did
SpongeBob games. Yeah, go check out that review.
Did you ever beat it? Did you go back to it yet? Or you
Of course. Did I not talk about that on Tuesday?
No, because it came. You talked about playing it. You didn't talk about beating it, though.
I did beat it, and I loved it. It was really fun.
There you go. It's really fun.
I'm not gonna go back and 100% it. Like I have other games to play, but like
some of the achievements are glitched, so you can't anyway.
Okay, perfect. Then I don't want to do it anyways. But it was fun. Watching that scrolling credits, hearing the music and everything like that, hearing the jellyfish jam, Kevin. I was like, yeah, that was a fun game. I had a good time with this. It was a solid platformer. Solid. If you're a fan of what is it called? I'm so sorry. Bikini Bottom.
Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated.
Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, or the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, like I am. That's what I played as a kid. You'd love this game. Honestly, the nostalgia trip is just fun. It's a great time. Go play it.
It's funny that Logan's asking about all these thirsty RPGs because my next 2 games that I pre-ordered today, like a Dragon Ishin, and I have Tales of Symphonia remastered, the collector's edition, coming next Friday.
You're going to be playing Ishin. I'm going to be playing Atomic Heart. So we're going to have a lot of coverage on this show about both those games going forward this next couple
I'm also going to play Kirby's Return to Dreamland.
I'm going to do my best.
I know that's not a thirst trap. And then I also want to play Clive and Wrench.
Kirby? Have you seen those curves on Kirby, Kevin?
He's round.
Oh, he's a big boy.
He's all curves.
He's all curves, Kevin.
But those are the only 2 I've been diving into this week. So we can transition over to the news because we do have, unfortunately, some Activision-Blizzard deal news to talk about, guys. Story number 1: the CMA might have put Activision-Blizzard the Activision-Blizzard deal in jeopardy. This comes via Tom Warren at The Verge, who says, quote, "The UK's Competition and Markets Authority has published provisional findings in its investigation into the Microsoft and Activision deal and found that it could result in higher prices, fewer choices, or less innovation for UK gamers." The CMA highlights 2 main concerns. They say cloud gaming and game exclusivity. They quote saying, "The evidence available to the CMA currently indicates Microsoft would find it commercially beneficial to make Activision games exclusive to its own cloud gaming service," end quote. As it controls an estimated 60 to 70% of the cloud gaming service, this would be huge. The CMA has offered some possible remedies for Microsoft to get the deal approved. However, Microsoft might be hard-pressed to agree to any of them, as they are as follows, quote, "A structural remedy that involves a partial divestiture of Activision Blizzard in the form of selling off the Call of Duty business. Other remedies include selling off the Activision segment or the Activision and Blizzard segments that would include the businesses associated with Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and other games. The final ruling isn't until the end of April, so Microsoft has until then to respond." Ethan, how are we feeling here, buddy?
Oh man, I think this is going to be a case of government just coming in and ruining everything. They clearly have no clue about this industry. They have no idea how it works, how it operates. The fact that they're talking about they would put it on their cloud gaming services. What are you talking about? Nobody in the world plays Call of Duty on cloud. It's impossible. It's actually impossible to play Call of Duty or any first person shooter for that matter on the cloud. I don't know why you're even mentioning that. It doesn't matter. Microsoft allows Sony, their competitor, to use their cloud service for their gaming. Like, there's a relationship there between the biggest competitors on this cloud system. I don't know why you're saying they're going to have a monopoly. And them talking about how there's going to be less innovation. So what, you would have Activision-Blizzard be independent again and all they do is make yearly Call of Duties and Candy Crush? Like, what do you want? It just shows how out of touch this is, and I have a feeling these governments are just going to get mad about it. I think if Xbox puts up a good fight, they have a good legal team. Obviously, they're a multi-billion-dollar international conglomerate. They have one of the best legal teams in the world. They are going to put up a hell of a fight about this.
Mhm.
We're going to have to see this go out in courts. It's clear both the United Kingdom and the United States governments are very against this deal. I think we can accept that now at this point, that both of these governments don't want the deal to go through. And those really are the two big Western regulatory bodies that you got to get through to enter some of the biggest markets for gaming. So it's going to be a slog. It's going to be a knockout, drag out fight. It's going to be a slobber knocker, as good old Jim Ross used to say back in World Wrestling Federation. And it's really unfortunate. And it's just clear by we've talked about multiple statements that both the FTC and the CMAs have said it. Every time they put out one of these statements, anybody who is a gaming enthusiast or part of the enthusiast press or whatever you want to call us, the podcasting community, we honestly, our brains just lose brain cells because it's so obvious how little they understand about this industry, how little they understand about the group of people that love video games and want to see them succeed. Because honestly, at this point, I don't care if Sony comes in and buys Activision Blizzard. I just want all of these IPs that are owned by that publishing company to go to somebody that can actually respect them and make some video games. That's why I'm most supporting Xbox buying them, because I know Xbox will support them in making great video games again and not just pumping out Call of Duties every year, which I love Call of Duty. Don't get me wrong. I've been playing the newest one, but I want to see some other cool stuff. I want to see some great video games come out of these studios that have been basically relegated to COD support studios. So just another example of government ignorance that makes you upset. And I'm hoping Xbox just puts up a hell of a fight to stop this. And it might take longer than expected, but I'm hoping this still goes through.
Chevaruni in the chat says, feel like we're stuck in a time loop with this
I
story.
know. We're in Deathloop, and Deathloop sucked. It's not fun.
I'm feeling the same way. So when I saw this come out, I was like, okay, they're basically reiterating the exact preliminary findings that the FTC had, right? Which we all criticized at the time because, again, they didn't make sense when they came out then. They don't make sense now. When Microsoft has put on the table at least a 10-year deal for Call of Duty to PlayStation, which included giving them access to a cloud gaming version of the game. They offered parity. So it just seems like they're not taking into account the Microsoft offers. They're not actually looking at what's being said. Instead, they're listening to, which apparently is Jim Ryan flying back and forth to Brussels. It's I mean, I just don't know what their findings could be. I do like, it is interesting that Microsoft has such a big portion of the cloud gaming market. I can understand that being a concern.
They're the only ones investing in it.
Yes, if they hadn't offered a deal for it to PlayStation, right? If they hadn't said that they wanted to give them their own version of it. So for me, they don't really have a leg to, like, when you're offering your competitors all these options and they're not talking to you, which apparently PlayStation is refusing to talk to Xbox over this now, and instead just talking to regulators. It's one of those things like, well, at what point, like, do you get mad that the regulators are ignoring all of your work you're trying to do to get it through, and are instead just listening to people that aren't stating facts at this point? And I know Captain Logan says they don't want to have to pay that 30% Microsoft tax, which very well could be. They don't want to give, because right now when you buy Call of Duty on PlayStation, it's 70% goes to Activision Blizzard and 30% goes to PlayStation. So they get that. Instead, it would be 70% goes to Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just frustrating for us as enthusiasts of this hobby. And that's because Xbox is obviously extending these olive branches to try and show regulatory bodies that, hey, we're not trying to create a monopoly here. And PlayStation is rejecting those offers because they want, a pedestal to stand on to be able to say that Xbox is trying to create a
Which
monopoly. So
clearly, and they're right, by the way. I want to make
they are
if I was head of PlayStation, I would be over there complaining as well.
right,
I'd be like, "You
which
can't
they
let
are.
this go through."
But at the end of the day, it just goes to show you that these massive businesses are not in the business of actually providing us with the best product. They're in the business of making money and trying to trap people into their ecosystems, which, we play into that every now and then. But this is just, I think this whole thing has just shown the ugly side of this. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think that it's really unfortunate and I wish it would just go away, but it's something that's going to be dogging us for the next year or two, probably, now that all these countries are going against this deal. It's just really unfortunate that these two companies can't come together and realize, like, hey, we can still work together on this. You guys can own Activision Blizzard, and we'll still have these games on our platform. And let's just make great video games for our players, and let's work together to do that. I wish that could be the case, but obviously it's business. It's never going to be like that.
And I've said this before, but it's also one of those things where I really don't care all that much about Activision Blizzard. I really only care about Crash Bandicoot.
Crash.
Like I get Call
Yep.
of Duty is and Candy Crush are like the big money makers over there, and that's why they want this deal to go through. But if they were
Yeah.
like, if someone told me, "Oh, we're gonna get Activision Blizzard," but they sold the Call of Duty studios, I'd be like, "I'm okay with that. We, I will live." I just I don't know, man. It's so frustrating at this point because you just see and you get the fanboy rhetoric on Twitter when at this
Oh
point I'm
yeah.
very much like if the deal doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna move on, and then you know what's gonna happen though? Xbox is gonna go scorched earth, right? Like they'll have
Like
69.
Square Enix and EA, we're just gonna go
No,
crazy.
no, I don't even, I doubt they would go after publishers after being denied Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
I could see them being like, Sobo, you're ours now. And
Oh
then
yeah.
like just picking up all these
Crystal
other
Dynamics. Let me get
d-
that real quick. Like
double A. Yo, Embracer. You got some
Gearbox.
studios,
Can I
right?
have Gearbox real quick? Let me
Yeah,
get that.
just come on over. All right, they'd
Something like
be
that.
picking up studios left and right because they have like
Yeah.
the FTC and them have no reason to block individual studio purchases, right? Like
Right.
at that point,
Yeah.
it'd be some weird thing that they were setting down. Like you think a Sobo is changing the industry? You think a Sobo is going to make them anti-competitive?
Oh.
A
Yeah,
Plague Tale must have more cachet than I thought.
yeah, like I don't know. There's just so much money involved, and maybe at this point, Xbox just wants this money to be freed up. I don't know. I'm still holding out hope that the deal goes through. I think that Xbox is going to put up a hell of a fight for this. I think we're going to unfortunately have to cover this for the next year. And I know Taylor, the one of the hosts on our sister podcast, No Limits, over there on PlayStation side, he's just as sick of this as we
Mhm.
are. I know Sam and Bree are just as sick of this story. I think everybody in the podcast community is sick and tired of the Activision Blizzard deal. We popped off when it first happened because it was huge, and now it's just like, okay, guys, kids, figure this out. Stop
I
fighting.
it's one of those things where I'm sitting here and if they don't get the deal through, right? Oh yeah, Ghostly March in the chat says that if they don't get the deal through, they have to pay Activision $3 billion. So either way, they're gonna lose, but that's chump change compared to the 69 million
It
that they're
is.
offering, right? For them. Um it's it's I'm
I
looking
like
at it.
the idea that the CMA proposed. Split up the studios, start selling assets off instead of the whole publisher. Sell Call of Duty to PlayStation. I don't care. Give us Crash Bandicoot. Give us Spiro. I will take both those IPs. You guys can have Call of Duty. I'm fine. We'll
Just
work
give
together.
Crash Bandicoot a gun, okay? First
Yes.
person. Oh man, we have a question from Captain Logan in the chat. It says, "Question: Did Microsoft go too big with their acquisition so soon after Bethesda's ZeniMax?" In my answer, yes.
I don't.
I've said this from the start. I don't want them to buy publishers. I've never wanted them to buy publishers. My acquisition, I've said, is I want them to get a Sobo because I think that would be a missing component to the Xbox ecosystem. They got that third person narrative over the shoulder games that everyone's clamoring for. And with the money, they could make something really special. I would much prefer to see them pick up those double A indie studios and then build them up from the ground as in opposed to publishers. But
I mean, that's kind of what PlayStation's strategy is, right? They curate those studios to make first party games for them or exclusive third party games. And then they're like, okay, we built this relationship. Let's buy you out. But for the answer to that question, I mean, I feel like Microsoft has always had the money to buy huge publishers, right? They've always had $75 billion laying around to drop on this. I think they've just wanted to see how far they could push the envelope, right? Like I
mhm.
think Bethesda was obviously one of the biggest purchases we've ever seen in gaming history at
For a
the
few
time
weeks. Yeah, for a
for a
few
few
weeks.
weeks. And then this blew it completely out of the water, right? So Xbox has been consistently pushing the envelope to see how far they could go, to see how many IPs, how many development studios, how many, check your different boxes, how many whatever they could buy up in this industry without getting the ire of the FTC. And clearly, I think they've realized, like, okay, we've pushed a lot of buttons here. So if this deal goes through, I think they're going to take a step back and probably not buy something for a very long time. But if this deal doesn't go through and people prevent them or governments prevent them, then obviously they're going to take a more scaled back approach, like they were buying Bethesda or something like that. I think it's always with any business, you just see how far you can get away with, right?
But
Until somebody tells you to stop.
Bethesda ZeniMax for me was I thought that was a great acquisition because of their
Oh yeah,
relationship
it
with
was
Xbox,
great.
and I like those games a lot better. I do have two things coming from the chat. Captain Logan and Ghostly March both calling you out. Did Ethan say Spiro?
Spyro, whatever.
uh, and then Happy Cloud Gamer asks, so
It's
why
because I
are you
also say
all?
Euro, like the
Well,
sandwich, like
you're.
Euros.
Oh yeah, but that's their name though.
I don't know how it
I'm having
works.
some gyros tonight, actually.
No, it's Euro, Kevin. Don't say that.
We're in
It's a Euro.
America. Uh, Happy Cloud Gamer goes, so why all the hype for the Activision deal to go through? Um, for me, I want it to go through, one, to stop talking about it, but two, because I'm worried that if it fails, they won't go with my strategy of getting studios like a Sobo, of getting those smaller teams that they've established a relationship with. Maybe one was it Avalanche that's working on that Contraband game. Studios that they're forming relationships with, they won't go that route. Instead, they'll be like, oh, Ubisoft is looking for investment. Maybe we'll go grab them because they're significantly cheaper. I don't want that. Because I don't want those games. In terms of like the big publishers out there, if you're not counting the Japanese ones like Sega, Square,
Right.
Bandai Namco, like those are three are my favorite like third party publishers. They'd probably look at Western publishers like Ubisoft, EA, right? And I
Mhm.
don't want those publishers. I don't really like their games catalogs. So
Right. Yeah.
if we're getting a Western publisher, Activision-Blizzard is the one to go with.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to be done with this, man. If
Well,
we're being honest, yeah, I'm ready.
it's either going to be a few years because they're going to go to court or they're going to kill the deal after the summer.
You see, it's
When they
a
have to
little bit
pay.
behind the scenes, we've talked about all of us hosts on the different podcasts. We talk about we're only going to talk about this deal when big things come up, like when something world shaking comes up. And honestly, it's hard to differentiate what's world shaking and what's nothing because every time we hear this story, like that's actually a huge development. Like the United
Mhm.
Kingdom is telling Xbox that they shouldn't do
Yeah.
this deal. Like that's a big deal. We try not to talk about it, but it has to be done.
Well, we can move on to story number two, bit smaller. The coalition has shifted its focus to Gear
Ooh,
6. So
more positive.
this comes according to Giant Bomb reporter Jeff Grubb, who says the coalition also canceled two smaller projects and has since shifted their focus to Gears of War 6. The coalition was hit in the most recent round of Microsoft layoffs, and Grubb says Gear 6 will for sure be their next game. I'm gonna take this one first, Ethan, because this is kind of disappointing to me. I've heard the rumors for a long time that the coalition was working on something smaller. I know some people thought it maybe was a Star Wars project, but I think they disputed that claim that it wasn't Star Wars. I think this hurts more because we're seeing success with those smaller projects coming out of Xbox Studios, right? We just had
Mm.
Hi-Fi Rush, which we adored. Again, go listen to
Oh
our
yeah.
review. You had things like Pentiment, which had come out critical acclaim. You had things like Grounded. So I really wanted to see something from the Coalition that wasn't Gears of War, that wasn't um, Gear 6. I wanted a smaller thing. And Captain Logan says, I thought they were just testing around with Unreal 5. I heard I've seen mixed reports that some people say the two smaller projects they were messing around with were just messing around with Unreal Engine 5. I've heard
Mm.
other people say that they were more substantial games. So Jeff Grubb, I think, is in the camp of they were just messing around with Unreal Engine 5. Either way, the main point is that it's all steam ahead on Gears 6, right? Which to
Right.
me, I'm worried about. And it's not because Gears of War is dead or Gears of War isn't great still. I I wasn't nearly as high on Gears 5 as everyone else. I didn't finish Gears 5. I thought it was pretty boring and a slog fest. If they're gonna make a Gears 6, which they are because Gears is popular, I want it to go back to what Gears of War, the original trilogy, more horror elements. Okay. I want more of that. I
Yeah.
don't want this pseudo open world nonsense. I also I, Gears 4 to me is better than Gears 5. Okay. I think that might be a hot take, but I like Gears 4 way better.
Gears 3 is the best. I don't think that there's
No,
any
Gears
question.
2 is the best, first of
Stop.
all.
Gears 3 is crazy.
Gears 3 is good, but Gears 2 is clearly dom.
Dumb. Look, I mean, it's obviously sad to see any project get canceled, but for me, I'm chalking it up to there's probably hundreds of projects throughout all the development studios that get canceled every year, right? It's always stuff in the drawing board. Maybe stuff goes into pre-development. Maybe concept art gets created, and it just doesn't pan out because editorial boards don't want to do it, or they say we just don't have the resources to allocate for it. I'm trying not to get sad about it. What I do want to get excited about, though, is refocusing on Gear 6. I would love to see Coalition branch out, and I think we saw that with Tango Gameworks. Is how incredible a studio can do if they branch out and they're focused on a project and they're passionate about a project, then they can do something against the grain that they haven't done before. Tango Gameworks knocked it out of the park with Hi-Fi Rush. I guarantee you, with the talent that's over at Coalition, they could knock it out of the park for whatever small project they want to do. And I'm sure they will do a small project in the future. I don't think this is the end of the Coalition doing small projects by any means, but you have to get back, you have to get past the development cycle of a massive game like Gear 6, because Gear 6 really is a cultural moment for me, for Xbox players. Because unlike 343 Studios, I feel like the Coalition has maintained a sort of respect from those
Mhm.
old school
I
Gears
would
of
agree.
War gamers, and they've maintained that consistency with what makes Gears of War great, where 343 has lost a lot of the trust in the original teams, or excuse me, the original players of Halo, and a lot of the players subsequent of Halo. They've just not hit the mark. The Coalition can be trusted with Gear 6. And so I guarantee when Gear 6 gets announced and starts getting marketed, it's going to be a huge cultural moment for Xbox gamers of all generations, because this has spanned since the beginning of Xbox. And I think this is something that everyone should be really excited about. Coalition, I think that team has an incredible amount of talent. I think that's the reason why Xbox has tapped them to go help other studios with their game development. I think the Coalition is just a great development studio, and they're going to knock it out of the park with Gear 6. I have no doubt about that. And I guarantee you they will get their moment in the future to have one of their smaller projects to be able to, focus on.
Ghostly March says, "Stop naming studios after games, though." LOL. Which
Yeah,
fully
Xbox
agree.
had that weird little
Can
stick back then.
can I say though? I think it's okay for games to go away for a bit. I don't think like
Absolutely.
that's kind of where my disappointment, because I know the Coalition is so good. They make probably the most beautiful games on Xbox. They're masters of
Stunning.
Unreal, gorgeous games. So I think part of my disappointment is I want to see them do something else. Like I want to
Yeah.
see what they can do outside of Gears. Also,
Mhm.
if you're making another Gears, can I get a Gears Tactics 2? Thank you very much. Like Gears
Oh,
Tactics 1 is better than Gears 5. Um,
whoa. Kevin upsetting the Reddit users. Watch out.
Gears 6 rumored to offer Grub waifus due to the success of Genshin Impact. The hell are you talking about, Logan?
I need a source for that one.
The hell are you talking about?
That would be tough to watch. Oh no.
Yeah, like I said, I think part of my disappointment comes because I want to see what else these teams can
Of
do. I
course.
don't want them to be the Halo studio, the Gear studio. Okay.
Yeah,
All
and I
right.
think Xbox has really spoiled us in that sense for the last few years, and showing that they will focus on the smaller projects from these studios to go out of their way to promote these and support them in it. And I'm really excited to see what other studios come up with. Honestly, I doubt the Coalition is the only studio that's working on something small, on the side, like a Pentiment, like a Hi-Fi Rush. So, the future is bright for Xbox studios. I'm excited to see what they come out with.
Playground Games, they're working on Fable. They've only done Forza Horizon. Now they're doing
I wouldn't
Fable.
consider
Okay.
that a small project.
No,
It's
I'm not saying
relative-
it's small but it's a different IP.
It's
All right.
different. Yeah.
It's showing that, like, hey, I know Playground isn't named after Forza Horizon, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know where they got their name from. But I'm just saying,
I don't know.
spread the IPs around. Okay. That's a big thing
Yeah.
we talked about with Halo, but we can do it with everyone. All right.
Absolutely.
And then come back to things. But
Oh, am I alone here? Oh, I don't know.
what just happened?
Kevin, you left me alone. I was so
What
scared.
just happened?
I don't know what happened. I gotta tell you, I was actually about to reel it in, Kevin. I was about to talk about the next story. I was about to pick it up from there, and I was about to be the best host ever. All right, you should have let me go. You should have let me go crazy. It would
I
have been
have
great.
no idea what just happened. That was so weird.
It's that monitor, Kevin. You let it
I
unplug.
hate
itself.
it. I hate. Yeah. Anyway, Ubisoft Plus looks like it will be launching on consoles any day now. True Achievements has found a list of 63 Xbox games with the Ubisoft Plus tag, along with over 100 DLC items. I think it was Hopple in Discord asked if this subscription service was something we would be interested in.
Ubisoft Plus?
Yeah.
If I would be, of course. I'm a massive fan of Ubisoft. I am the polar opposite of this guy that's on my left, right? I'm using my right hand pointing to my left. I got to remember that.
Yeah.
This guy does not like Ubisoft. I love Ubisoft. I'm a fanboy of it. Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, all that stuff. Ubisoft, I love you. You're incredible. I played a lot of Rainbow Six Extraction. Back when that came out, that was fun. Rainbow Six Siege, I could probably get into. I'm not really good with multiplayer games.
I like Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. But Ubisoft, I'm a big fan of that development studio. But they are a studio in transition, right? So clearly they're trying different avenues to promote their video games. They're trying to do things differently. They've been pushing this Ubisoft Plus service. I honestly don't see why they even need their own streaming service. I think if they just decided to roll all of their IPs into the different subscription services, that would probably do just as well. But I'm excited. A lot of people get to play some of the Assassin's Creeds. Maybe I can play some of the original ones. Honestly though, every Ubisoft title that I've played, I've already played. Like anyone that I've wanted to play it, I've already played. So this isn't really going to speak to me because I've already played all these games. Maybe I'll go back and play some of the original Assassin's Creeds, like I said, but that's the only thing I might get out of this. But pretty cool.
What's interesting is most of them are I shouldn't say most, a lot of Ubisoft games now have come to Game Pass, or they've come to PS Plus with the Ubisoft Classics. I think over there, because Game Pass has EA Play, I think PS Plus got the Ubisoft Classics. I think that was their type of thing. For me, I have no interest in Ubisoft Plus. And I just looked up how much this was. $15 a month. Are you having a laugh, Ubisoft? You think your games are worth $15 a month? Should I play the critically acclaimed Immortals Phoenix Rising?
Dude, Immortals Phoenix Rising is fun. All right. Listen,
I played that game actually, but
I played all the Far Cries. I played all the Assassin's Creeds. Kevin, I've 100% of both Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is no small feat.
Watch Dogs Legion sitting at a 74. Is that worth $15 a month? Oh my god!
I'm one of the minority. I liked it. I got the steelbook for it. I liked it.
They appeal to different audiences. They appeal to you and then me, a man of culture and taste.
Okay? Oh, right. Oh,
Ghostly
man.
Mart says they gotta try to make money after spending a decade funding Skull and
I
Bones.
I was about to say, I'm hoping they put Skull and Bones on Game Pass after this. That would be the only way I will play Skull and Bones is if they put it on Game Pass. I'm excited for it.
Ubisoft Plus is exactly what Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack is doing, but Nintendo has better IP. And let me tell you, I don't think Nintendo Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pass is worth it either. I was
Oh, I
just
thought you were about to say Nintendo doesn't have as good IP. I was about to
no,
get
no,
real
they have
worried.
much better IP.
I
But
love Ubisoft, but
I'm not
damn.
paying what is it, $80 a year for Nintendo to play some Game Boy Color games or Game Boy Advance games. Sorry, I can
Hey,
play the Game Boy Color games.
original Game Boy and Game Boy Advance are coming out now, Kevin. That's a big deal. We
Yeah,
should
but
have
I'm not
said
doing the
we didn't
expansion pass.
we
It's too
didn't do the
much.
live react
It's
on
too much money.
Wednesday. It's very sad.
It's too much money. I'll do, for the one to the problem with that model is I hop in, play it for 30 minutes, I'm gonna go nostalgia, haha, and then I never play it again.
You know, nobody's sitting down and playing, Super Mario Bros. 2 for 7 hours straight.
Like it's cool that Legend of Zelda Oracle Seasons and Ages is coming, but am I
Yeah.
gonna replay that entire game using Nintendo Switch
No.
Online? No, I'm not. I'm not. I would never. I can't. I have other things to do.
Exactly.
Happy Cloud Gamer. Good point here. I think the problem with Ubisoft is the open worlds are so many times the skin of the last game. They're also too
Right.
long. They're also too long. $15 a month. You probably can't even finish Valhalla in a month. Okay, so you're gonna be
185 hours, Kevin. Valhalla. And I think that's what Ubisoft has been trying to do, and they've been trying to move away from that model for like the last year or so. There's been a lot of internal discussion. And I know you and I have discussed the different issues that Ubisoft is having financially and everything like that. And I think they finally realized that they need to have those more toned down experience. I think that's why Assassin's Creed Mirage is coming out as a single player game this year instead of the planned expansion for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yes, Mirage was supposed to be an expansion of Valhalla. Crazy to think of. That game came out in 2020 and they would still be making expansions now. But I think Ubisoft is trying to move away. They just have to get through all of the different games they've had in development for so long that basically follow that model like Skull and
Mhm.
Bones. I think Skull and Bones is that example. I guarantee you everyone at Ubisoft at this point is like, oh my God, can we just release Skull and Bones and have it fail and just get over this? Like, we're done with it. We're done with it.
Uh, Ubisoft. No, I'm not excited for Ubisoft Plus, but for those of you that are, I hope it's good.
Go play Odyssey. It's already on Game Pass. Go play Odyssey.
It's true. Let's talk about the Game Pass update for February. As we do twice a month usually. Their drops have been a little weird lately, but available right now. Madden NFL 2023 for console and PC. SD Gundam Battle Alliance for cloud, console, and PC. Available February 20 or February 14th. Sorry, Mountain Blade 2 for cloud, console, PC. Tom says that was one of his favorite games last year. We also get February 15th, City Skylines remastered for cloud and Xbox Series X and S. February 16th, we get Shadow Warrior 3 Definitive Edition for cloud, console, PC. And February 21st, we get Atomic Heart for cloud, console, PC. Ethan, before I ask you, I'm going to tell you right now, nothing on here for me personally. I know lots of people are excited for Atomic Heart. I will say, Shadow Warrior 3, I played the original version
I was about to
on
say, you
PS
played that, right?
Plus when I had COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 4 hours long, so you can knock that out real quick, and it's a
Nice.
ton of fun. It's like a double A Doom style game, so if you just wanna rip some monster heads and blast some stuff and do some cool platforming, it's really fun. It's a really, really fun game, but what here is for you?
Yeah, I mean, Madden NFL 23, believe it or not, is something I'm interested in because, Kevin, I haven't played a Madden video game since 2011. And I started kind of trying to watch a little more football this year once I moved back to Vermont and I was in a more comfortable place. And I was like, screw it. Sunday, let's watch some New York Giants. Let's see how they do. I want to jump back in, see if anything's different. I do want to point out, I think it's cool that Game Pass is trying to get more sports titles onto the service because I think that's a kind of a big portion of gamers is they love playing sports games. And I think that's something that we forget about, especially being the enthusiasts that play a ton of different games. And we see those yearly sports releases like FIFA, like NFL, like NHL, like NASCAR, or whatever other sport game that comes out, we're just kind of like, whatever. We don't really think about it. They're actually massive and they make billions of dollars, and a lot of gamers play those things, and those are kind of big pickups for these subscription services. So, if Xbox can turn themselves into the NFL/MLB subscription service to play all the games every year, kind of a big deal. It's really cool to see. And I think a lot of people will want to be buying Game Pass to experience that. So I think I might jump into NFL 23 a little bit just to check it out. I haven't played a football game in a very long time. Mountain Blade 2 is the other game that's a little bit interesting. I'm a huge fan of Mountain Blade Warband. I played that a lot on PC. I want to see how this stacks up to it. I don't know. It seems like one of those games, Mountain Blade Warband, that's very specific that I might want to stay playing just because I liked that system, kind of like how I enjoy playing Dynasty Warriors 5. Even though Dynasty Warriors 9 came out last year, I still go back and play 5. So I feel like it's going to be that sort of scenario for me. Shadow Warrior 3, I remember seeing a lot of gameplay of it and really being interested in it. That Doom style that you were talking about looked really intriguing to me, and it looked really well done for an indie game or a AA game or whatever you want to consider this. It just looked really fun. And I remember you talking about it and talking about how fun it was. So I might jump into that if I have time, of course, playing Hogwarts Legacy. And then obviously Atomic Heart. That's the next big one for me. That's the next, I have planned and scheduled my time to play Atomic Heart. Like, that is no doubt in my mind. I'm going to be playing that on February 21st. I'm really excited to explore that world. Really intriguing art style, a unique and interesting combat system that I'm excited to explore. A lot of crazy different unique ideas and mechanics that I've seen in the previews. It's one of those games you're just looking at it and you're like, what am I about to play? It's just it looks so weird and interesting. And I know there's been some I guess February is the month of controversial video games. I know there's been some controversy with this because it is a Russian studio, Mundfish, which I have played a Mundfish video game before. Can't remember what it was, but I remember it being pretty fun.
No, this is their first game.
Are you sure? I might be
I'm
thinking of a different
almost
video
certain.
game.
I'm
I might be thinking of
almost certain.
Let me look up
Mundfish
a video
games.
game real quick.
Did you play I Am Fish? Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I haven't played I Am Fish. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different game developer that's also Russian that I played on Steam like last year that made Chernobylite, which is this little first-person shooter game. But either way, I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to look cool. I don't support the Russian government by playing it. I promise everybody. And I will be making a full report on it.
Yeah, for those unaware, a video went viral this week. I think it has 1.5 million views last time I saw it. It was called "Don't Play Atomic Heart," or "Don't Buy Atomic Heart." Sorry, and it was
Right. Which I will not be.
it was a Ukrainian who was making the video, so I completely understand where he's coming from. I obviously every Ukrainian has the right to completely want to not support Russia in any way.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand that. It's just the way they went about trying to get people not to play Atomic Heart did not sit right with me. It was very much a lot of evidence, and I use air quotes with that don't really amount to much. It was, people at Mundfish used to work for these Russian companies that do Russia propaganda, so they must be corrupt. Keyword used to work for them, or they
What
haven't
were they,
spoken
like a low-level accountant? Like,
Right.
it's
Or
I
or
don't know.
or they haven't spoken out against Putin. Yes, because they're Russians and they would get murdered.
Yeah,
It's
them and their
it's
families would
it
disappear forever.
it's arguments like that, and then there's some silly ones in there about, how they're sex robots and they're y
Mm.
I can't even. It was a lot
Really
of
off the wall shit.
yeah, really a lot of weird stuff, and and apparently the game sends all your personal information to the Russian government, which is from some web page that no longer exists anymore. Apparently, it's very strange. There was a retort to it. The only thing I can say is that this game is being published by Focus Entertainment, a French
A French company.
publisher. The Mundfish is now located in Cyprus, not
Yes, I did
Russia.
see that.
They have multiple studio locations around the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're international.
But there is 0% chance that Focus Entertainment and then Xbox, who has also paid for the game to be on Game Pass,
an American company,
went through and was like, yo, this game sends your information to Russia. That cool? Yeah, you just write them the check.
Yeah.
I understand not wanting to support Russian endeavors because yes, the game did get some funding from the Russian government. That is true. Some money will go to Russia. And if you think that is like we can't support that, completely well within your rights. But again, do not say that everyone that buys this game or supports this game is anti-Ukrainian or pro-Russia because it's a much more nuanced conversation than that. It's well, if we don't support this game, the developers who haven't done anything wrong, despite what this video tries to claim, is going to go out of business, right? Like that's how games work. If you don't buy games, the studios can't make more games. So I get it. I get where he's coming from, but it's another Hogwarts Legacy situation where people are trying to push what they think is the moral standing onto everyone else.
Yeah. Kevin, just hoping after February, rest of the year, no more video games have political tinges to it. I'm ready to just play games and enjoy my life and not be attacked.
I just don't know. Like, is this going to be a recurring trend where whatever we can dig up about certain games is now you're going to get canceled, or we're going to have to call people out, or you're going to just make a definitive statement of if you do this thing, you are a bad person. Like, I'd hate it. I hate it. I don't know how we got here.
Yeah, it's sad. Hopefully it doesn't happen for the rest of the year. And if it does, then we're going to ignore it. And we're going to continue playing video games and loving video games and talking about these video games like we've been doing ever since we started this whole thing. And you guys can come along for the ride, and it's going to be a great time.
And again, I'm not saying my point is don't tell people what to do.
Exactly.
Put the information out there, make informed decisions, leave it at that.
Yep.
But there's clearly one side that's like, I'm the only right answer. And that is where I draw the line. So that's my little rant about it. If you're interested in Atomic Heart, I hope it's great.
Go shoot some robots, some sexy robots, Kevin.
It looks phenomenal. Very BioShock vibes. I know, I think you, Kyle, is really interested in the game as well. Everything I've heard about it, it looks like it's going to be a really good game. It's just not my type of game. So we'll end that there, I suppose, because Captain Logan, as I highlighted before, according to Twitter, nothing I do anymore is ethical.
How dare you? How dare you exist, Logan? Stop it.
Yeah. Not just games, modern society, which is a shame. But Ethan, I think we're going to wrap up the show there. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Make sure, like I said, to go check out our review of Hi-Fi Rush. It is now live everywhere. And tomorrow we have a review of Fire Emblem Engage going up for our February Save the Game Boy episode. So check that out. But Ethan, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
On the Discord. Come say hi. We'll talk about anything and everything, including Atomic Heart.
And you can find me at the Muffin Mon on Twitter. It's a 1-7I, 0-7A. Follow us at Save Game Media to stay up to date with all of our latest. Thanks everyone for hanging out in the chat. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.